This week's episode is sponsored by Change. Change is the #1 mentoring programme that teaches you e-commerce from scratch. Change has a real community with real results. I have been working with Ryan for many years now and have attended many of his events and retreats across the world and got to meet members and the amazing community of like-minded people. Ryan works with a lot of big names in the business world, helping them build online businesses and e-commerce. Change offers personal one-on-one support, no experience needed, but like anything, this takes time and is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you put the work in, you will get the results. E-commerce and online shopping is getting bigger and bigger. This is a great opportunity for anyone that is looking for financial freedom. For more information, go follow Ryan on Instagram at RyanJB, and he will guide you through the steps to help you get started and build a successful online business. You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on. And today's guest, we've got Chris Booth. Chris, how are we?
I'm all right, thank you. Yourself?
Really good, thank you. First and foremost, thanks for travelling down and coming on the podcast. Seen some of your videos, couple of minutes of madness, kind of got your life in prison, come from a rough area, bit of a dark story, in and out of prisons, drink, drugs, suicidal thoughts. But the beautiful thing is, it's all about the changes. Obviously, we'll touch on all the madness first.
Okay.
But is this your first proper interview?
It's without having to say no comment, James. Yeah, it is. You know what I mean? These days I don't have to say no comment, so I like to get my words out.
Yeah. Before we get into all the madness, though, I always like to go back to the start with my guests.
Okay.
Get more of a bit of understanding about you, Chris, where you grew up and how it all began.
So originally I'm from Portsmouth, from a place called, I lived between two council estates, so they were called Paul's Grove and Lee Park. It was pretty much council when I was growing up, when I was a kid. My dad was heavily involved with the biker community. So at one stage it was like 2 squats with the walls knocked through. The electric was run off a milk float. There's a few pictures from the 80s when I got them dodgy Y fronts on, you know, with the light blue and the dark blue, the like colours together, my blue and white stripy top. And I said to my old man, I'm like, Dad, I said, how come there's no floorboards in this picture? And he's like, oh, that's when we had to pull them up to stick them on the fire to make sure you keep warm. Which when I look back on it, it's a beautiful thing that he done that. But to come from that to like where they are now and what they're doing, I've seen all that through the 80s and 90s when I wasn't in the system, obviously. Yeah, so it was council, it was Portsmouth. I lost the accent when I first moved down to Telford. Obviously, that was a beeline for the other kids because you speak a little bit differently. You've got a different accent. So I suppose that's where a bit of the madness started at first from a young age. People trying to somehow, because I was different, try pick on me for that reason. And like, I wasn't about that. I wasn't that person that wanted to get picked on. So yeah, that's the back history. And then moved to Telford in 88. And then from 88, a bit of a story there. And then from the 90s, then the chaos and the carnage and all the bits and bobs, locks, bolts, bars, scars, however you want to say it, brother.
How were you at school?
Well, according to my mum, she told me I got kicked out of nursery for some lad who tried to take my fire engine at the time, and I was pretty much an only child till 10. So like if I had something, I knew it was mine type of thing. And then I think I went to, it was 3 infant schools, four junior schools, and then I went to probably 7 or 8 secondary schools. I actually did like school. I just didn't like the dinner times. Like in Telford, a lot of the schools are quite close knit and quite close together. So in a dinner time, when you've got an hour and a half together, you don't really want to stay on the school grounds, do you? You want to go see the Cock of the Ear is in the other places, do you know what I mean? So we travel around, have our scraps and all that type of stuff. But when I look back on it, it's like I made a lot of friends because I didn't like bullies. So I'll give you an instant, I'll give you like a bit of a situation. There was a girl when we used to be at school. Her name was Alison, and her mum was one of those. Her mum was one of those that didn't believe in like cleaning your ears out with cotton buds and all that type of stuff. So she had like bits and bobs in her ears and all that, and all the other kids used to try to pick on her. And I don't like all that. I'm not into the bullying thing. And there's a big story of me with bullying and all that and where it come from and all that type of stuff. That's another story. But so I used to look after her. Years later down the line, I ends up in a courtroom and she's my prosecution, the barrister against me. I still got the charges, don't get me wrong. But for her to come up to me years later and I'm stood there for all sorts of crime, you know, just stupid daft shit, basically. There has been some serious stuff, so daft stuff as well. And for her to say, you know what, Chris, I remember when you used to look after the kids, when you used to, you know, tell the kids not to pick on me, blah, 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 and all that type of stuff. So I made a lot of friends at school. So then when everybody was sneaking into the pubs and everything, when we was 15, 16, when I'd land, it's like I knew everyone, you know. I was always good at my sports. I always liked my science and I liked a bit of geography and history. I wanted to know what went on and why it went on and what part of the world and all that type of stuff. But then I got to the age of 15 and then by the time I was 15 and everybody else was doing their exams, I was in jail. You know, that was my first sentence.
Why yours?
Yeah, Wales, Brinsford. That was the first one.
What for?
Well, basically, too much New Jack City, too much menace to society, too much bloody crazy films, and we all thought it'd be a good idea to turn over our local post office. So we got all the blue suits, the same trainers, got it all sorted out. We knew what time we was going just before closing. Pulled the shutters down so everybody thinks that, you know, the place is closed, and then we got time in there. But my old man was quite heavily involved with crime. So he pretty much knew the ins and outs of it. And he tried to say to me, he said, Chris, there's going to be more than one safe in there. I'm like, Dad, I know what I'm doing, man. Don't worry, I've got this. Do you know what I mean? And all that type of stuff. So he gets the lads together. Underneath my one pal's overalls, he's full biker. You know, not biker like as a cyclist, Tour de France stuff. And then we've got a little bike stashed under one of the underpasses because we know the police can't see us under the underpasses. So he goes in there, does the job, and I can see these cloth bags. I can see him going into the thing, and I'm thinking, that's the cash, that's the cash, that's the cash. Gets to the underpass, my mate then, we all gets undone, puts it all in one bag, so everything's all together, all goes together. He goes off, strips down as a biker, because round by us there's quite a lot of lanes and stuff like that. If you see a cyclist going past, it's just a normal thing, do you know what I mean? Next morning, we all meets up as a get together, sees what money's there. And then as we're emptying it, the keys have come out for the post office safe. So we've got away with a little bit of cash, but the money that we could have got away with would have been a lot more. About 3-4 days later, comes up in the papers saying, kids have gone into blah, 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 this, that. But our local boozer was across the road from us. Where the post office was on our local estate. And all the old boys, they're the ones that have seen what's going on, but they've not known it's us lot that are going in there. They used to buy us scratchings and crisps and all that type of stuff. And so they're the ones that rang the police. And then about a week later, ends up police all come around my mum's house. That would have been the first time when I call them the proper police, you know, that's when the doors come through, the windows come off and you don't really see their faces. Came in, got arrested. And that was my first sentence, 2 years for a robbery. So I was 15 years old. So that would have been 4 days after. I was just about to turn 16. So that would have been like 4 days after my first child was born. So my child come into the world, and then 4 days later, I was in a jail cell. My mum said to me, she said at the time, I was preparing to go to the ABAs to do my boxing. I was pretty good at boxing. I used to love it. It's something that I just, like everything else, I was an all right footballer. I was all right at rugby. I can't swim for shit, even though I'm from Portsmouth. I do depths, not lengths, you know what I mean? But I was pretty good at boxing, so I was preparing to go to the ABAs. So I had some reports and that off my boxing trainer. And my mum said, just go in your school uniform. They're not going to send you to jail, Chris. Do you know what I mean? I thought, oh, mum's usually right. I knew that from a young age. Mum's usually right. Gets to court and the judges just, look, you carried on your violent behaviour, you carried on this, you carried on that. Got no further alternative but to send you to custody. Obviously, they take the tie off you because it's your first time in jail. It's your first time on a sweatbox, so you can't hang yourself on that. So then, it was a shit place to be honest, James. When you land in a holding room, and Brinsford's like inner city, so it's all the lads from Wolves, Birmingham, all that type of stuff, and you're the only lad in there from Telford, and you're rocking up 9 stone 10, like welterweight sort of size, in a school uniform, you're a target straight away to be bullied. So within 3 hours, I'd been robbed. Do you know what I mean? I'd done my strip search, all that stuff, squat and all that malarkey. Within 3 hours, I'd been robbed. Within 3.5 hours, I was in my cell thinking, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? How have I ended up here? Luckily for me, the lad that I got locked up with, my first pad mate, he'd done a bit of jail. So I explained to him what happened down in reception. Explained that it's only a lighter, got my lighter took off me. And he said, look, Chris, well, he called me Booth. It was just a Booth then. Then everybody got to know me as Boovy over the years because whatever happened. He said, look, Booth, he says, these lads are gang in the jail. He says, if you let them take the piss now, the next thing they're going to be asking for your trainers. Next thing they're going to be asking for your canteen. Next thing you're going to be getting your stereo sent in. It's going to be their stereo. I'm like, what? People can't do this to me out there. I had all the fight, like I said, at school. Went round the schools. We had the fight with the hardest of the year and all. I swear, not in a bully way. It's just a bit of fun. But I found out I could have a little bit of a scrap, So it was like a bit of a shock to me, to be honest. I was like, bloody hell. He says, look, you got to deal with it in the morning, bro. I'm like, right, okay. So that night, no sleep, tossing, turning, thinking I got to go down into this cell. And I knew where he was. He was down in the bottom right-hand cell. So sort of out the way. Still a few eyes about the place, but out the way. So it goes down into the cell. Walks in. First thing I say, have you got any chance I can have my lighter back, bro? And I just knew he wasn't going to give it me back. But to me, a little 6x9 cell, it's just like a little corner of a boxing ring. I was fit. I was doing ton-ups. I was doing my running. I was quite fit when I got locked up for the first time. So we had a scrap and he come worse off and I beat the shit out of him. Next thing, I'm the man for 2 weeks. So now I've had my first fight. I've got on the phone to my old man. He's going, you all right, son? I won't do the accent, but they're from Portsmouth, so they're from down south. Do you know what I mean? You all right, son? He says, yeah, I'm all right, Dad, man. I said, I've had my first fight. I said, some geezer's trying to bully me. I said, done him in the cell. I can hear him saying, fucking hell, guy, he's going to be in there forever. He loves it, blah, 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 this, that. See, the mad thing about it is, I think my mum and dad thought I'd grow out of crime, but I never grew into it. Do you know what I mean, James? So anyway, 2 weeks, never got no shit on the landing and all the rest of it. The next thing, goes into the holding room, got a visit off my solicitor, further charges. They think I've been up to this and that as well. Nothing come of it, but I still had to have the legal visit. Goes in there, walks into the holding room. Next thing, you see like a big hand go over the camera. And then a few things have been said, bullshit, basically, because I got the better of this geezer. Next thing, there's a few punches that have happened, so I know what's going to go on. So I tried to get a few digs in, but there's too many of them, James. There's 6 of them. So I ended up having to assume the position, all that type of stuff. Took a kicking on the floor, went on my visit with a black eye, bust nose, bust lips, all the rest of it. But there's more stories that it's like, to them, I was just Christopher Booth from Telford. But these people were gang, so they got their gang names. So they ain't going to change their name coming through the system. They're going to have that name on sentence, on sentence, on sentence, and everybody knows them. But I was a nobody then in the system, we say, yeah? So then it took me a few years, and there's a few stories that goes with it, but I managed to get them all back. I managed to get every single one of them back. There's no better feeling than when you've had someone that's like done that shit to you, and then when you actually sit them down and you've got them back, and you say, all right, brother, good to have you back, man. I'm that lad that was in that holding room. I'm that lad that was from Telford. I'm that lad that knew nobody, knew nothing about the system. But now I've done a little bit of jail, bro. Now I've got a lot of friends because everybody knows I don't like bullies. you know. From a young age in jail, I got to understand that even the staff don't like bullies. So if you've got a little bit of inside you, then the best way to let it out is on a bully. Because 9 times out of 10, the screws come up to you and they go, you know what, that needed to happen, Boovy. Do you know what I mean? So then there was sentence after sentence.
You know yourself though, bullies only bully the weak. Bullies don't bully if you fight back. Bully only target the people who they think is vulnerable.
Yeah, things vulnerable.
Yeah. How was the relationship with your dad? Obviously a biker. I know all the bikers, not them all, but I'm friends with the Blue Angels up in Scotland, and they are mental, bro. People think that the bikers are quiet now. They're ruthless. You know yourself, it's a brotherhood.
Yeah,
Do not fuck about. If you're a biker, you're a bad boy. Majority of them. You'll get people in there who love riding bikes, but once you're in that, it's game time. And I will never speak out against them, but they're fucking proper. Like, it's a world within a world in the biking society, the brotherhood, the bond, the trust, the loyalty. There's a lot of fuckery goes on everywhere, but the bikers and the travellers, for me, are next level. They don't fuck about, man. You don't want to fight with them because you're not having one at your door. You're having 101.
Together.
How was the relationship with your dad?
Well,
especially if you're doing tons of it, because I was just about to say when you were talking about the robberies, you've got the overalls and it's kind of planned, and you're talking about safes. It's a bit too mature for a 15-year-old.
Well, you see, like, James, do you know what? I agree with you there, but I'm going to fight my dad's corner because my dad's an amazing person. To be quite honest, my mum and dad don't talk to me no more. They haven't spoke to me for like nearly 7 years, and it's one of my biggest regrets, you know. But I'm from a loving family, but like, just crime was just accepted. It was a normal way of life. It's how you put food on the table, you know. My dad had a few brothers. We're from circus stock, so we're showman travellers. So they didn't really go get jobs and that. Do you know what I mean?
Travellers as well.
Yeah, showman travellers, circus people. I'm not talking circus these days where it's all acrobats. So my granddad, Harry Booth, he was the man who used to fight in the ring.
Bare knuckle?
Yeah, well, yeah, back in the 60s and 70s. My auntie Nita was a toffee crisp lady. You know, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. Blag you, basically, turret girl. My dad, and he is an absolute jester. He's a geezer, but he's a jester as well. Him and my uncles and that, they were clowns. And then my grandma was the lady that used to look after all the animals. But then obviously the animal court, that was all on the south coast because we were from Portsmouth. Then the animal cruelty rule came in, so they took all the animals off the circuses. The circuses now is generally just acrobats and all the rest of it. So like, my relationship with my dad before we had a fallout was amazing. He's my best friend, you know.
Did you look up to him?
100%. You know, when I got to see him, with more times when I was younger, it was on a visit, you know. So I looked up to my dad, but to be honest, my mum's the boss because she was my mum and my dad. She was the one that was defending me when my dad was away. She was the one when I was coming home and the kids were picking on me because I'd say, your dad's got a ball and chain, your dad's got a stripy suit and all that type of stuff, saying, you need to get out there, Chris. You can't let him say that about your dad, and you need to deal with this situation. She was basically my rock, you know. So yeah, relationship's good, but I think, to be honest, and I've fell short of this myself as well because I spent a long time in jail. But my dad, I think, because I got to see him like a lot of time on home leaves, town visits, and all the rest of it. He didn't want to be that dad. It's like and all that type of stuff. He wanted to be my friend. So then, as much as he's my dad, he's my best friend. But then sometimes you don't need a best friend. You need a dad. To be quite honest, I probably did need a good clip round the fucking ear. Probably did need a good slap and all the rest of it. But that wasn't the case. Because my mum and dad were they'd been together since they're 9 and 10, James. Catholic children's homes. So we'll just leave that there, but Catholic children's homes. So they didn't believe in like beating their kids and all the rest of it because of what happened to them when they were kids, you know. But at the same time, yeah.
Do you think you needed that discipline? Or do you think you were going down that way anyway because obviously your dad's past and background and in and out of prison?
I think that word generational curse does come in there somewhere, yeah.
Do you believe in that?
I believe it can be broken. So yeah. I definitely believe in it, brother, yeah.
Well, you broke it now, you're doing great. But what happened after the 2 stretch then?
So then...
when you get out?
So basically, so that would have been 1997. And then I got out, and obviously first sentence, like, fuck that, I'm not going back there. Managed to stay out for, I wanted to go in the army and do some boxing, to be quite honest. Went down to the career centre, asked them, said, stay out of trouble for 12 months and then come back because you've just come out of jail. I managed to stay out of trouble 11 months. And then I've done a series of sentences then for violence, because that's the way my life was going before the drugs and everything got involved. So there would have been just the normal stuff, common assaults, ABHs, done a sentence for a couple of GBH, Section 20 charges. There's a lot of beef going on in the 90s between different sets of people in Telford. And Telford wasn't really, at the time, there was no firearms and all that type of stuff. People, we had stuff put down if it's needed, but it wasn't like that. You just deal with it properly, have a meet up or land on them and sort it out that way. But basically back in jail within 11 months, and then it was the revolving door of jail, you know, it's like
adult prison this time.
Well, it was adult, it was from 15 to 20, ended up just doing the what young offenders. So it was basically, I spent a large amount of time in Stokeheath, I spent a large amount of time in Brinsford, and they always used to threaten to send me to Glenparva and Felton and all that, but they never used to send me, so I just think I'd get away with anything, you know.
But the YOs is harder than the adult prison, I believe.
No, it is, but it is.
Because everybody's trying to make a name for themselves, man, the little fuckers.
By the time you get to an adult jail, you've already done all that, so everyone's chilled out, aren't they? So there was a few things like, obviously I had my fights in the showers and all the rest of it. And there's plenty of people from the West Mids that I've done jail with, so they can stand firm with this. Like, I wasn't there to be, I got bullied on the first couple of days. I wasn't there to be bullied, the same way I wasn't there to watch other people get bullied. So there's a few things that happened. There was an incident where, obviously I grew up with the Scum days, watching Scum and all the rest of it, tapping a sock and all that type of stuff. So I had some dramas with one of the lads. I won't say what area he's from. I actually get on with him now. So this drama created a friendship. But so I got my soap, put that in a sock, I smashed my wall, but it just obliterated. And I was like, fuck, I can't hit him with this. I'm not going to hit him with it. It's just going to pop on his head. So then at the time, got these like taps in your cell, and you could take the sticker, the red or the blue sticker off the top of your tap. You'd have a little screw underneath. I just we took that screw off. You could take the top of the tap off. So I took the top of the tap off. And I put it in the sock, but it wouldn't fit in a normal sock, we wear on our feet, because they're a little bit short. So I've had to put it in a football sock. Spoke to a few of the other, there was a couple of Telford lads in there at the time. And I'm like, look, this is our time, man. We need to make a stand now and say, look, we ain't taking this shit from you. Like, I said, so everybody get tooled up. When we come out on association, said we're going to sort it out. A couple of lads like, oh, Beaver, can't get involved. But I did have a brother, he's away at the moment, I won't mention his name either, but he stood firm by me. He's not even 5'2". He's got red hair and he's bloody, my dad always said, your mate there is either going to be really fast, really funny, or he's going to be a nightmare. He was a mixture of the three, we're sort of like frenemies now, but he was my first real friend off the council estate. He stood firm next to me. So come out, there was a game of pool. I was meant to be next on the pool table. And the main lad from this area, he's gone, fucking Telford, you ain't on this game of pool. He's come up and tried to belittle me in front of everyone. So I thought, all right then, fair enough. Give him the pool cue. He says, all right, bro, I don't want no trouble. I got a tap and a sock down the front of my pants. Just waited for him to take his shot, to cue off. I just come up at the side of him and fucking hit him with a tap in the sock. But the thing is, I didn't know this because it was the first time that I'd done it, James. So the sock stretches, done it, because it's a fucking football sock. So hasn't hit him there. He's gone all the way around his head like Rambo and smashed him on his head. But fair play to him, I'll give him this. He was a tough jockey, like. He's grabbed the table. I can see he's gone, but he's grabbed the table like this. And I can see he's like trying to make out where the balls are. So I've obviously caught him nice. Do you know what I mean? I've had it done to me since it hurts, yeah. But so he's looking at pool balls, but say this is my shower gel. I've got my towel wrapped around it. So, like, to me, that's not a shower gel, and that's not a shower gel in a towel. That's my shield, bro. Yeah. So then, when he's chucking these pool balls at me, I got a little scar on my chin, little tiny one. But then, like, so when he's chucking them, I'm like this, and then the next thing, the staff will come and they're like, "All right, everybody up to the twos. Fucking hell, baby, not again." And all this type of stuff. Everyone's gone up to the twos. So now I'm like in an auditorium. Do you know what I mean? All the lads are watching. So I'm thinking, yeah, now it's time to make some noise. Do you know what I mean? So he's going, "Boovy, drop the fucking tool and I'll have a straightener with you." I'm like, "Are you mad? I just hit you with it and you're still standing." I says, "I'm not dropping no tool, brother." Do you know what I mean? And he's backing off, but I can see what's behind him. There's some gates behind him. He's going no further. So as he's got walking back, he's got to the gates, the gates are done, hop, skip, jump. And I've just bashed him over the head of it like a couple times. He's on the floor, obviously started shaking and all that type of stuff. That was probably the first time that I thought I killed him. I've never done it, but I thought I killed him. And yeah, so that was the first major thing in jail where it wasn't fists, where I decided to pick up arms and use the tool. And then there was a couple more things that happened. You know, there's a few stories, James, but
When did the drugs kick in?
drugs kicked in about 19, 20, hardcore drug use. Obviously, I was smoking weed in that one when I got out after the first sentence. Before that, I was boxing, so I used to sit on my mum's doorstep after a run, and all the lads used to be smoking a weed, and I'll be sat there red-faced, like buzzing off the run, and I'd think, why are they smoking a weed, man? Come on a run with me. My pal used to come with me on a bike. My best friend used to come on a run with me with a bike, and he'd be like, at the end, he'd be more fucked than I was. So I thought, yeah, the engine's working now. That's when I was getting prepped, ready to go, you know, do something with my hands and maybe and thingy. But I'd say about 17 started smoking a bit of weed, and then the weed turned into the usual stuff, some trips, going out raving, dropping pills, the usual type of stuff. And then we got introduced to the Class A's at about 19. We was travelling just down the road down here, actually, High Wycombe, see some Turkish and get some bits and bobs off of them. Started off with just I haven't really intensely been into the gear. Wasn't really my thing, you know. I'd have a couple of lines, never stuck nothing in my arms. If you could sniff it, snort it, or pop it, generally I've done it. But then it's when the crack come into the situation, that's what fucked my life up, brother. That's the realness of it. You know, when you're smoking nearly 3.5 grams worth of crack a week, and you're causing all sorts of chaos and carnage to do that. The police used to keep pulling me over, and I'd have all sorts. I mean, I'm not talking drugs, I'm talking stuff to go do stuff to people, James. So then I thought to myself, I need to be able to mooch around with this hammer because it's keeping me safe. So I needed a way to be able to have this hammer on me and not get done for going a quick or inciting this, inciting that. So what I used to do, I used to put it in a Tesco's bag with a clock and 2 nails. And then if the police used to pull me over, they'd say, "Where are you going?" So I'm going to my mate's house to put a clock up, boss. "Where are you going?" And then they couldn't do nothing about it. So I'm going to put a clock up on his wall, couple nails, little clock, a hammer. It's viable, isn't it? It's not about being innocent or guilty. It's about reasonable doubt, ain't it? You know how it is. Because that's the life that I was living, you know? So, yeah. Drugs hit me hard.
What was it like taking crack for the first time?
It's like crazy. Absolutely crazy. Kept going to this one because we were selling bits and bobs, you see. So kept going to this one place. I think, fucking hell, man, he's ringing every 10 minutes. You know, I was in like a block of flats. So we'd be on the top floor, and then we'd have people on most floors that would be buying bits and bobs. So go down, see this geezer, and keep going in there. I said, fucking every 10 minutes. And one day I said, "Why are you so bothered about being 50p short?" "Oh, he was like really bothered. I'll get you the money. I said, "It's 50p, man. What are you bothered about?" But then when I sat down, I said to him, "What's it all about, bro? All this stuff on the bottle, this creamy smoke." And then all of a sudden they're chatting, and I got introduced to the curtain twitching later on in life, do you know what I mean? But at first it was like, to be honest, it was like no other buzz that I've ever had in my life. You know, nothing bothered me for them fucking 5 or 6 minutes. But then when it's gone, then you have to find it again and again and again and again. And to do that, you got to cause chaos and carnage and just be a fucking horrible person, basically. You know, everybody goes through life, James, trying to find out who they are. You know, I want to know who I am. I want to know who I am. What I had to do it the reverse way. I had to find out who I wasn't and then become that person, you know? So everybody wants to know who they are. I didn't do it that way because it's just the way I do shit. A bit back to front sometimes. I had to find out who I wasn't and then destroy that person and then become the person that I wanted to be, you know? Through drugs, there's been cardiac arrest, respiratory failure. So on that note, it's like sometimes you have to die a few times to live, you know? That shit has to happen for you to be able to live the life that you're meant to be living. You know, there's been incidents through my drug. Every scar on my body is drug related. Every single scar. Even my appendix scar, James. Yeah? That was the blag a day off school. So I could go partying with the boys. You know? So I blagged it, I got appendicitis. Next thing I got my appendix out. I didn't want to cough up that I didn't have them because my mum was there with new trainers, new tracksuit, all that type of stuff, you know, at the hospital. I'm like, fucking hell, I want that. Obviously, the doctor's got to do whatever he does as well. So I went through that palaver, traumatised me for a few years, till my mate came in with appendicitis. And I was like, did the doctor shove his finger up your arse? I went, yeah, he did. I went, fuck you know. I said, thanks, man. I said, I've been thinking for years that the doctor done bad shit to me. And now you're telling me that that's actually what happens. He's like, you're mad, you are. I said, I'd never told no one. I never even told my mom, nothing, you know. He said, no, that's what they do, man. And I've asked a few more people, it does actually, that is what they do, like. But every scar on my body is drug related. Every bad choice that when I've been in jail, obviously you got time to think, haven't you? And like when I weighed up like the little life instalment sentences that I've done with life, and I weighed up the amount of time it took me to make them decisions, it was 6 minutes for 14 years of my life. So it's just 6 minutes of stupid ass 2-second decisions. It cost me 14 years of my life. And I sat there and thought, what the fuck, man? And I just had a big passion to then. This was on my last sentence. I started doing the calculations because you go down a rabbit hole. How much money have you spent? Who have you hurt? What have you caused it? And all this. And I think that comes later on in life. It's not like your 20s and your 30s and all that type of stuff, you know. Like, yeah, jail. Drugs did fuck my life up, you know. It fucked my life up big time, but I think I needed that to happen. I needed to understand just how dark and how murky them shadows are to be able to shine a light on the situation, you know? And like, there's nothing worse than sitting down with somebody who's trying to help you or trying to bring some awareness and understanding to your table when they don't know shit about it. So maybe I had to go through all that shit to make sure that people don't go through that shit or be a part of that process, you know?
Yeah, this is life. Sometimes we get played those dark cards, but you know yourself, it's how we play them. How was it for your mum? Oh, listen, it's bad enough doing fucking post offices at 15, but you could accept it if you're just, listen, you're from the streets and you live in chaos and the family members are robbing and stealing and doing all the bad stuff. But to see your son on drugs is a different ball game. How was it for your mum when, did she ever say to you, look man, you're in a bad way here? We don't listen anyway.
Yeah,
but
she did just say it once. You know what? My mum gave me a million chances, brother. Yeah, she like when I was even to the point when before the drugs, every school I got kicked out of, it wasn't my fault, you know. Or it was the other kid, it was this, it was that. She'd always front my corner. But I think it got to the stage where, you know, when you're walking past your mum's kitchen window and you're basically walking up like Pete Doherty or something like that, half a fucking Telford ashtrays under your fingers, and she's seen her son and she knows what her son's about, and she's not seeing that person. To be honest, I take it on board that my mum's probably ill now because of the shit that I put her through. Because if a merry heart is medicine for the soul, what's the opposite to it, brother? So it says, you know, a merry heart is like medicine for your soul. What happens if you take the opposite to someone? It's going to make them ill. It's going to make them poorly, you know? So my mum was a workhorse for years and all that type of stuff. And yeah, I think I played a big part in why my mum's poorly, to be honest, you know, because of the stress, the worry.
yeah, that's the horrible thing, especially when you start the changes.
Yeah, come on, that's always got to be changed.
No, but the brain always throws back the destruction you've caused, the misery you've caused, the lying, the stealing, the cheating,
And there's
the
lots of that.
dark place you're in, and the drugs, it helps you for that so long. It will help because it takes away the pain, it numbs the pain, it makes you just feel you're in a bubble and you're not doing wrong because you can't feel it.
The first time you sit down and you smoke drugs, it's for pleasure because you want to know what it's like. But then every other time you take it after that, you're either chasing or you're masking, you know? So then you start off with chasing that high, and then what you do, the chasing turns into masking. What you do then, you start masking because of the stuff that you've been up to, because of the people that you've hurt, because you don't want to remember that. You want to get away from that person. But really, the best way to get away from it is get clean. But to me, that was a long process, you know? So what I've done is shitloads of masking. And in the process of masking, there was a lot of chaos and a lot of carnage.
What was the worst prison you were in?
Wow. I'm going to have to say it. So I got some Scouse friends, but Walton's a shithole. Do you know what I mean? I know some good lads from Liverpool, and I've met some good lads on my travel. Walton is a shithole. You know, it's probably one of the only jails that you can go to where they're all walking around on phones. Every fucker's got a Rolex on, and if they want to get to you in any cell, they're going to get to you. The screws turn a blind eye, and it's just chaos and carnage. There's all sorts coming over the walls. So, like, you know, it's a violent place. Do you know what I mean? But I met some good lads on my travels, but it's a shithole.
Yeah, I love the Scousers, man.
Yeah, man, they're the good bunch.
They're the right people. They're crazy, like you say. They're
man.
fucking nuts, but they've got everything on lockdown up there. And
They have, yeah.
it's if they've got loyalty for you and love for you, they'll never break a bend for you. That's the way they are. They're a different breed. It's like the travelling community. It's like another world within a world. It's like they've got their own little island up there.
Yeah, they have, yeah. It's good. Met some good people on my travels from there. So with like the drug world, it's like, I don't know, it's just murky and it's dark. Fucking there was a time in my life when obviously, so I've got this smile on my face, thanks be, because I'm quite a happy person, so I'm always smiling. But when this happened, they were told to chuck drugs down on the floor. And the mad thing about it is the police would have looked into it, but they wouldn't have looked into it because it would have been a drug-related death. And they would have said, well, it's bound to happen. Booger is living that life. He's mooching around doing whatever he's doing, you know, fucking taking money off people he shouldn't be taking off, fucking involved in that world, causing all the bits and bobs. So it's very nearly been the end of me a couple of times, you know. There's been, because of the drug life, it's been a situation where the lads actually thought they did end me, and when I've come round after a long time, I've come out the cupboard. They've got all the bits and bobs on the floor ready to wrap me up and stash me on the back tracks right by my mum's house. So I can understand, like, with my mum and my dad and stuff like that. I can understand that totally. I've had to own a lot of shit, James, because the thing with ownership is, like, if you don't open it, it opens the door for other people to own it, doesn't it? And I don't want other people owning my shit. If someone comes to me and says, yeah, use this, use that, you done this, you done that, I say, well, yeah, I did, and I own it. So it's not yours to own. It's my doing, my wrong, so I've owned it. So basically, fuck off, you know? Let me move forward. It's not for you to own, it's for me to own. It's not for you to go rare tear about this and that, because I've owned it and I've dealt with it, which is a shitty process, but you have to deal with it, you know? When I was dealing with it, there was a time when I didn't want to be around, you know? There was a time when it got dark, when I have tried the suicide thing, you know? We'll say thing, but there's been times where, you know, I brought one of my pals up with me today. And he's been there when I've been in that state, and I had to come and bloody clean out cupboards of medication and stuff, you know. There's been times when, back in the day, what we used to do, if we had firearms and that, one person would stash the firearms and the other person would stash the bits and bobs that goes with it. Because then if you wanted to make a decision to go do whatever, you'd have to come and see me, because I know where the bullets are. You know where the firearm is. Yeah, so you stash a firearm, I'll stash the bullets. If you want to make a decision, you have to come and see me. I thought, fuck that. what happens if I want to make a decision? So then I went and got the bullets to go with the things, and I stashed the two together. And there was a time when I've been in the woods, in my local woods, Hapley Woods they're called, and I've been there and I've been ready to do whatever. I think it's going to be quick. I don't know what you see or what you hear. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. But it would have been quick. But then I got a phone call of someone that I absolutely love to bits, you know, and they were in a situation and I wanted to go and help them with this situation. So the thing got put down. So I didn't end up acting on it that time. So I suppose it was an act of love that saved me that time, but it's a shit place to be, brother, sometimes, you know. As much as, like, you know, you make money and, you know, you can have fun, there's been money-motivated crime, there's been drug-related crime, it don't weigh up, you know. You can't put a price on freedom, you know, and if you want to try to put your wrongs right, it's not a peaceful process, you know. If you've lived a fucking whatever life, and you want to put it right, and it hasn't really been a very peaceful life, how do you expect putting together to be a peaceful process? It's not. So sometimes you have to go through an unpeaceful process to find the peace, you know. And that's what I've come to find out, and that's what I've had to do, man. I mean, the kids are 23 and they're 28, James. I've got a 7-year-old grandson. What was I passing down to him? Crime, addiction, bad decisions. No. I had to pass something better down. Yeah, my youngest son now, he's incarcerated, my 23-year-old. He'll be out in October. My eldest son's done a little bit as well, but the generational curse is getting broke because he done one sentence, he's not been back, and he won't go back. So then by the time he gets to my grandson, instead of him having an understanding of what it's like, he can have an understanding through stories, because we'll be open and honest with him. But he doesn't have to go there and actually witness it himself. And to me, that's breaking the generational curse, you know? Like, with my boys, it's like, I wasn't really around much like my dad. So I've gone about my dad being my best mate. But I've done it to my kids, you know? The same thing, and there's too much, there's not too much love, that's the wrong word. There is so much love between us. But, so my youngest son, I had a conversation with him before he went, and he went, Dad, he said, don't mean to be funny, he says, but you ain't really been much of a dad, have you? So fucking hell, I said, nice one, son. He's gone, he says, you're more like a best mate than a dad. But you have to take that, don't you? Do you know why? Because if you're a best mate, you get to find out more anyway, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Loads more. So yeah.
How would you feel if your grandson came to you at 15 and says, listen, I've got a post office job, 10 grand, 20 grand, you know yourself, there's not that much in it now. What would you do?
I'd lock him in a bedroom somewhere and tell him he's not fucking getting out of there. He'd be locked in. I'd lock him right down. I'd take his trainers. I'd take his jackets. He'd have no bloody PlayStations or whatever they're playing at the time. And he'd have nothing. He wouldn't be on bread and water. He'd probably get some Cocoa Pops or something. Do you know what I mean? But I'd lock him down because that's maybe what should have happened to me. I don't want him to... It's not going to be the case, you know. It's not going to be the case.
Yeah, that's the hard thing when you go through that life. It's the same as my uncles and their uncles. Everything was addiction, everything was prison, everything was murder. My mum's lost 2 brothers to murder. They'd lost 4 brothers to murder. The uncles above them, like, it was just never ending. Like you say, it was generational curses. And I always speak about this book. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters. They talk about if you don't face your fears and demons this life, you go into the next life with all the same, plus to add another one on.
That's deep, brother.
Yeah. So it's to try and break the mold, it's to try and break the chains, but it's difficult, especially because our kids are a reflection of us. And it's just never ending. Whether we come back into this life and we go through the same operation again, I don't know. Like, when you talk about deja vu and other things, you feel as if you've been here or you've met that person. Like, it is weird, but just hopefully, thankfully, everything is moving forward and the chains are snapping, and
got to dissolve and change.
Positive, proud and positive of the next generation, because like you say, your father's done it, probably his father's done it, you've done it, your sons have done it. It's just to leave that mould and and go, do you know what, you don't need to do what we done. But it's difficult because they choose their own paths. Kids nowadays genuinely choose their own path. So it's trying to be the better version that we can be, to go, I want to be like him the way he is now instead of 20 years ago. Because prisons and jails and guns, knives, robberies, it's fucking sexy at a young age, because it's so weird why we gravitate towards it. I don't know. The movies must play a massive part.
100%.
I grew up in Scarface and Carlito's Way, and I fucking loved it, the craze. I watched them going around school, and I thought, yeah, I want to be them. And then you realise when you're older, and everybody I've interviewed, nothing happiness ever comes from that life.
Nothing.
It's all pain, destruction. Your ex-partners end up fucked up. Your kids end up fucked up. You're chasing the wrong dreams. You're trying to get back what you had in your youth, even though everything's changed, and then you become a victim. All these top boys become victims who ran the streets, and everyone feared. Hit 40s, hit 50s, and then the young team just fucking terrorise them. And that's the way it is. That's the operation. And it's not to shoot anybody down who's maybe listening to this in prison or in that life, because
it's facts.
Yeah, it's just facts of, if you actually speak to the wise man in the jail, well, he's not wise, he's in jail, but there's people in there doing 20 and 30 stretches who'll tell you the truth of the fucked up. It might have took them 15, 20 years, but the penny does drop of, what have I done? Did that happen with you when you fought with the drink, the drugs, the prison, everything that came with it? Or did you always know it? There's always an internal thing where you know what you're doing is wrong. There's just no strength to eliminate it, because whatever it is you're doing is wrong is the kind of buzz and kind of motivation you need. It takes away the pain. Like, it's crazy how the mindset can take you.
I think my environment was a big thing, you know. I surrounded myself with certain people where certain stuff was accepted, a lot of stuff was accepted. So if I sat at a table, I was generally sat at a table full of darkness. So you're only going to get dark results, you know. So he didn't have the best people, but I wasn't making the best decisions myself. I'm not trying to blame nothing on no one else, because those were my decisions to make. But my environment was a big thing, and to why all that did happen. But why I decided to change was, there's a bit of a story. Would you like to hear it?
Of course.
Right. So on not the sentence I just done. So I just done a 5.9 for 1.2 key of gold and 10 grand cash. But the sentence before that, there was a gentleman that come into jail, and he looked like Dom King, big, massive black geezer, had the hair like Dom King and that as well. And he come in, and when he came in, he's like he knew a few people. Everyone was saying, like, all the lads going, well, go on, Pastor. Well, go on, calling him Pastor. So I thought his name was Pastor. So then they already put him in a cell. And when he was in there, in the system at the moment, there's something called, obviously I'll be on the streets of London as well, Spice, Mamba. So they put him in a cell with someone that smokes Mamba. This geezer's huge. He's like 20 plus stone, not a muscle, he's just a big bloke. And he's on a top bunk. So when he's jumping off of his bunk, he's hitting the side, you know, the sinking that's there. He needs a single cell, man. So at the time, on that sentence, that's when I was deciding to do a few things a little bit differently. So I was gym orderly. So I got on with some of the staff, the all right staff, because there is some good ones. Do you know what I mean? So I went and seen him and said, boss, get my man out of that cell. So you put him, it's his first time in, you know. I said, he's in there with this geezer that's smoking Mamba. Get him out of there, please, man. Just get him out of there. Goes to work, comes back the next day, goes down to his cell. He's not in there. Says, boss, where's the pastor gone? He's going, oh, you mean Dom? And then it says his name, and actually his name was actually Dom, like Dom King, yeah. So goes and sees him, and he goes, oh, nice one, brother. He says, oh, I'm so much more at ease now. I've got a flat, it's like a flat single cell, so there's no bunk bed, just one bed. He's got all his own little bits. He ain't got a shit in front of someone. He can do what he wants. But he was actually a proper religious geezer. And he was in for, there's some bad stuff happening over in his home country. So he forwarded some documents and brought the people over because they were getting basically slayed because they were Christians and all that type of stuff. So he forwarded documents and got done for people smuggling, like, got some big sentences. So I got on with him and I said, what else do you like doing, brother? He says, I see all these people getting their hair cut. And he's gone, like all the black lads and that, they're getting their hair cut for a visit. He says, they can't cut hair. He says, I know how to cut hair. He says, do you want me to get you some clippers? I says, get them in there, everyone wants a nice haircut for their visit, go and see their wives, their missus, a bit on the side, whatever it might be, you know. So I went and got him some clippers. Next thing, he's getting them all in the hairdresser's chair. He's chatting away and he's getting to know everyone. The morning that I'm getting out of jail, he comes up to me. He's a big bloke, man. Do you know what I mean? If he wanted to, he probably could. He ain't that type of guy because he's a faith man, but he would have been able to muller me. Yeah. He's come up to me. He said, Chris says, because he obviously knew my name by then. He said, will you come to the showers? I need to talk to you. I'm like, fucking hell, I was getting out, man. He says, no, I need to talk to you. He says, I need you to change your ways. He says, please change the way that you're living your life. So what do you mean? He says, out of everybody on this landing, he says, you've come to me in my dreams 3 times. That's a bit big, but he's saying that to you in jail. You think dreams, but I said, how does his dream go? He says, you're in the middle. He says, you've got loads of people around you. He says, these people keep beating you and asking you, where is it? Yeah, he says, I said, what happens? He says, you keep getting back up like a jack in a box. You keep getting back up. I says, all right then. I says, how does the dream end? He says, it doesn't matter. When he says it doesn't matter, I need to know more. Yeah. And then it ends up with like the old bag round, the cable tie around your head and all that type of stuff. I says, so I'm like, all right then. Yeah, whatever. I says, how will I know if this happens then? He says, out of all these people there is one person that's not entirely English. I says, all right then. So I gets to the gate that day. I'm thinking, fuck that, man. I'm changing my life around, you know. Gets out, does it for about 3 months, tries to put my life back together. Next thing, comes into a bit of hardship. I'm not taking drugs at the time now. This was a money motivated one. It comes into some hardship, finds out about some other lads that are doing county lines on the manor, gets all my kit ready, goes into a house to get prepared to go down to a couple doors down. When I goes in there, there's 2 lads smoking drugs in there. But there's 3 of them, but 2 of them, but they're all 3 of them smoking drugs, but 2 lads that I know. And there's another lad there. But this lad gets money every month at a certain time on a certain day. And obviously he gets paid before 12 o'clock. So what they've got him smoking drugs. But the lad's like, he's got needs, you know, he's a little bit different from the rest of us. That's the most polite way I can say it. And they're bullying him to make sure he goes to a cash point at 12 o'clock. I'm saying, lads, fucking leave him alone, man. I says, I'm going a couple of doors down in a minute. I says, you can see me getting ready. I says, obviously I'll have some of the drugs. I says, I'll take the cash. I says, you can have some of the drugs. You don't need to bully him. So then what I've had to do, I've had to work on a 3 strike rule these days because I was getting into less trouble. Before it's just 1 strike and just would do whatever he's doing. So first off, I'll come to you and I go, yeah, you know, what you're doing, it's making me feel like this, you know. And just be a bit passive about it. And then like, next time around, I'm going to be a little bit more assertive and say, you know what? How you're being, it's causing me this and making me feel this way. And then the 3rd strike's when you roll around. But I grew up with these people, you know, from a kid. So they got to know about the 3 strike rule. So they've done it the first time. I've told them, listen, fucking leave them alone, man. Come on, lads, I'm going down I think, with a couple of doors in a minute. Next one, been a bit more assertive. When it comes to the 3rd one, they know it's going to be a roll around. So the one stood up to have a scrap with me. And I didn't know at the time, he's got the 2 dusters on his hands. So I'm having a bit of a scrap and I'm thinking, I can't remember him being able to bang like this. What the fuck's he been doing whilst I've been away? He can have a scrap, but I didn't know he's got these on his hands. So I'm working him into the corner, trying to get him into the corner, thinking, if I could get him in the corner, I can deal with the situation. Just before I got to the corner, I just felt whack in the middle of my head there. Obviously, that was when the first time the claw hammer hit me straight in my head. So I've obviously you see the white flash, all that type of stuff. So I've fucking obviously gone down, I've got a few whatever, his defensive rings, all that type of stuff. And then, so then I got a bit more around, woke up, I'm on the floor. I'm thinking, what the fuck's just happened? Do you know what I mean? So I got back up, had another round of him. Next thing, I woke up in the cupboard. Yeah, and as I've got out the cupboard, so like in council estates, they call it a walk-in wardrobe. It's not just a wardrobe in a council estate; it's just a bigger wardrobe than the rest. Woke in there, but in between the doors, there's like a little light. a little tiny light in between the doors, and it's coming through because of the light, you know, like this. It's coming through, you know. What the fuck's going on? Woke up, got blood all down me. All my t-shirts ripped. One side of my head's heavy. I think, what the fuck's going on there? I walked out, I bashed it off the door. The hammers fell down, so it just left me in there with the. It didn't go into the skull, but you know when it goes in between the skin and the skull. So it's in there. I think, what the fuck? What I should have done at that time in my life is picked it up and then gone and dealt with the situation. Anyway, thought I was in there for 20 minutes. Wasn't. I was in there for an hour and a half. There was 2 ladies that lived there, Glaswegian ladies, and they'd lived the life. They'd done a bit of jail and all the rest of it. They're pretty hard people, for hard women, to be quite fair. They'd barricaded themselves in this room because they heard what's going on. There's another story to that, but so that's how they knew what was going on there was bad, because they're used to all this type of stuff. It's bread and butter to them, you know what I mean? Next thing, I managed to, as another round, wakes up on the next landing down. Fucking hell. Woke up for the third one after a couple of times, and I'm thinking, I need to get out of here, man. If I don't get out of here, they probably are going to kill me. But when I come out of the cupboard, that's when all the polythene and that's there. So they thought they killed me already. And I was in there, but it's this bit of light that was coming through the door. Don't forget, the bloke that told me about this is a religious guy. Yeah. Gets out the back window. There's an ambulance, police, all the rest of it, because the next door neighbours have rang, thinking someone's been bloody killed or whatever, all that type of stuff. Gets out the back window. What do you think the lady in the bottom room? She's half English and she's half Polish. She's not entirely English. So it wasn't exactly how he said, but it was the same sort of situation as what he said to me. So I went back to, and then I got locked up, sent back to jail. You get something called an husband warning. So your life's in. Yeah. So got that, and because of that, got recalled. Ends up back in jail. My man's not the hairdresser now. He's not just on the landing. He's the chapel orderly, because he's a godly man. I've gone down to the church, to be honest, not to worship. Went down there to see some of my pals, had a few little bits on me, do a bit of trading, all that type of stuff. I just sat there like that. When I walked in there, so when I grew up in the 80s, a big song at school was, he's got the whole world in his hand, he's got the whole world, and a hole in my bucket delights, and all that type of stuff. You'd have the little blue hymn book and all that. And like, there was none, like nowadays it's multi-faith, but back in the day, that's what you've done. You've done your Our Fathers, you've done your hymns, no matter whatever, faithful background you had to do that at school. So then I walked into the chapel, and that was playing, and I just got I got a reminder of like when I was at school, when I was young at school, and I wasn't really sinning. Well, I was chucking a few beanbags up on the roof and getting them after school, or a few hula hoops, and just coming after school and getting them, taking them home. But I wasn't really sinning. I was quite happy. And it reminded me of being happy then when I was at school. Next thing, the gentleman that's had the premonition has come over and he's gone, Chris, do you want to give your life to the Lord? I don't call him the Lord. I call him the boss man or the big man. He's the top boy. There's no other top boy. And that's just me as I am these days. I give all glory back to him. But I said, yeah, I do. I said, I do, Dom. So he'd done a little prayer. And then what I done then is, I went back to my cell and I prayed. And I said, Lord, I said, how the fuck, literally said it like that, how the fuck do I keep ending up here? I said, give me some awareness. Let me know how I keep ending up here. So at first, what he sent me wasn't good. He made me aware of all the people that I let down. He made me aware of all my victims. He made me aware of all the times I sat my kids on benches and said, look, I'm not going back to jail. He made me aware of all the false promises that I give my family. He made me aware of all the times that I ripped my family off. He reminded me of all the times that I'd done crimes, and done bad shit. I was like, I can't handle this. I couldn't handle it. I was like writing letters to my mum and dad to say sorry. My bin was literally full of paper. And then I'd get my little bin and empty it in a big bin in the morning. I was getting my phone, I was trying to make phone calls, but I couldn't press the last fucking number to say sorry and to say, look, I'm going to change, because I said it that many times before. I thought they're just not going to believe me. Got to the point then, that's when there was another suicide attempt. But obviously I'm here, so it didn't happen. But then after that...
What happened with that one?
It was more like a cry for help. It was just straight across there, through a few tendons, and squirt a bit of blood about the place. Do you know what I mean? It's just more like a release, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? The other ones has been like prescription medication, handfuls of it, and then the one what I spoke about in the woods, you know. So I've got an awareness of that. But then afterwards, he went. It was like, I'm not saying he come down on a fucking white cloud. I'm not saying he come down with a staff and all that type of stuff. But something just was in my head saying, there's a reason why he's still here. And then it all sort of clicked into place, the 2-second decisions and all that, you know. I wanted to educate kids about 2-second decisions, James, and what a 2-second decision could bring to your life if you've got the wrong people around you, the wrong environment, with the wrong thoughts, the wrong actions, in the wrong direction. It brings chaos and carnage. So I said to him, I said, look, I said, put me in the best possible chance I can to be able to give back when I get out this time. And I will give back. I'll fucking stop taking from society and I'll start giving back. And then he done it for me. You know, he put me in that position when I got out. I managed to get my talks into schools about crime rehabilitation and punishment, which is part of the curriculum now in Telford. From that then, I met one of my brothers who's no longer with us because he lost his battle with mental health. And he introduced me to the men's mental health environment. He was he was a giant of a geezer, man. He was an ex-bloody Wolves football hooligan. He was 6'4" of a man. He was the life and soul of the party. And the day before the lads cut him down out of a tree, he was still the life and soul, you know. He introduced me. He was the spark to me to be able to give back, exactly, because I'm not going to get too godly on you, James, because I'm not the type of Christian that's going to put a Bible, you're going to walk away, you're going to have your travels home and you're going to go, fuck me, where'd that Bible come from? That's not me. I'm the type that I know what the shadows is like, but I also know what the light's like, you know.
How hard does that seem, a friend and someone who guided you on the path, to then see them hanging from a tree?
Well, I didn't make it to go look for him, but I'd say, like, I've probably got 1,000 stories about the worst things I've ever seen. You know, there's been suicides in jail. I've seen lads there that have been there all night in their heads like a basketball in the morning because they've been hung there for that long. I've seen the pissing the shit down them, you know, because they're old goals. I've seen lads, you know, where they properly wanted to do away with themselves, so they've done their femorals. And then they put a pair of jeans on and another pair of jeans so the night clock you don't see the blood on the floor, so they can just die in peace in their bed, in the peace that they think they're going to find. But the worst thing that I've seen recently is my brother that I just know was so full of life, and having to go see him and, like, you know, have some words, because by then I was well into my faith. I was trying to drag him along with me, but he was more of a Viking, to be fair. He's like, shut up, there's none of this and none of that. But I was there that's what I believe I brought to the party for him, you know. But it was shit, man. It's not good. But from that now, he was the spark that lit the fire on my proper journey of what to give back. Do you know what I mean, James? And now we create safe spaces for men, you know. So then all that chaos and carnage, I got an understanding of it. So what people seem to do is, like, they think that their joys is going to become their sorrows. Yeah. So watch this one. So I've had a shitload of sorrows, but then is it for me to make my sorrows into joy? So what happens if it's the other way around and your sorrows become other people's joy? You're like, what do you mean your sorrows can become other people's joy? Because if you can be a part of the process of them not making the same mistakes and the same decisions and making that same process, and you've got an awareness of that, and you bring it to their table and be open and honest with it and own it, that can bring joy to their lives because they're not making the same mistakes. And that's what we try to do. We got a men's mental health company called the Men of the Breath of Life, or the Breath of Life. I was involved with another men's mental health group, and that's what Ricky introduced me to. Ricky Briffer, his name was. He's fucking diamond of a geezer. But I believe he started, well, I don't believe, I know. He started the spark that ignited the fire. And now we're just giving back, you know? So
What's the hardest part about change?
sticking at it. Yeah. It's too easy to say, fucking, I've had enough of this. I'm not dealing with that. You know, it's too easy to say, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to admit that. I don't want to own that. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, this is the reason. Truth and forgiveness, them are the two hardest things. Being truthful with yourself and then being truthful with the people around you. And then forgiving yourself and forgiving the people around you. Like, there's been situations where I didn't want to forgive people. I wanted to go out there and do whatever. You know, there's been situations where they tried to take my breath from me. So I wanted to do that to them. But there has to be forgiveness there. You know, there has to be truth there. Those are two things that set you free. You know, truth and forgiveness, without a shadow of a doubt. So them are the two hardest things, I think. Being truthful with yourself, and then being able to be truthful with your friends, your family, and then forgiving yourself, and then being able to forgive the people that have done whatever to you, whether you deserved it or not. There's still got to be forgiveness there.
What's your biggest regret?
Falling out with my mum and dad and being took away from the family table. That's my biggest regret.
Can you resolve that?
I fucking tried everything, James. There's been emails, there's been DVDs from jail, there's been letters, you know, but like I said, I understand why, you know, because there was a lot of whatever went on, you know, so I think it was like tough love, but then in the process of tough love, I think my mum and my dad think if they bring me back to the table that I might end up at being that person again. So if they can see me doing all right from afar, then they're happy doing that, you know. I still speak to my sister, and my kids get to see my mum and my dad. Excuse me. They're really close to their nan and their granddad, so they know what I'm getting up to, you know. My mum wrote me a letter once in jail. It said, Chris, I just want my son back. I just want that kind son who loves the people around him and always puts everybody else first before himself. So that's what I'm getting up to now. So she might not talk to me, but I read the letter. Do you know what I mean? I read the letter and I took it on board, and that's what we're trying to do now. Thanks, B.
If your mum and dad watches this podcast, what would you say to them?
Just sorry, ain't it? Sorry, I'm not that person no more. You know? We've got something we're trying to get into the jails at the moment, a program, James, yeah? Because I want to help people from my life and break the chains that I was able to break. So we've got a program called RISE, which stands for Rebuild, Inspire, Succeed and Empower. So in the system at the moment, there's a course called the ETS, the anger management, fucking thinking skills program, all that type of stuff. It sounds like an old, like, you know, like the old racist jokes, the Englishman, Irishman, Scottishman jokes. But the joke of it is, there was an ex-crook, an ex-probation officer, and a reverend sat at a table. And between us all, because we've all got different awareness and understanding, we've come up with an idea that actually can help the prisoners, you know, and break the fucking chains, basically, James. Do you know what I mean? Like, now, if you go to jail, you've got 100% recall rate. So if you get a 3-year sentence, there's a 100% chance you're going to serve that 3 years. Yeah, and then when you get out, they're going to put you in a crack house somewhere. Yeah, or if you're an ex-drug user, they've got no problem putting you in a house full of other drug users. But if you're an ex-drinker, you know, and your problem's been alcohol, I don't see how we're going to be putting you above the Queen Vic. They don't say that, do they? There's got to be change. So what we're doing is trying to bring that change to the table. There's a lot of red tape in that at the moment. And thanks be, I've got some really good people around me at Breath of Life. And I mean, all walks of life, every single walk of life you can think of. And that's why it works, because there's just pure awareness and understanding at the table. So like, yeah, I did live a life, and there was some chaos and carnage, a lot of it. And there was all sorts of violence, and there was all sorts of bad shit that happened. There was money, there was drugs, there was all that type of stuff. But there's light as well, and that light is you have to be able to give back eventually, because by giving back, that's how we get back. That's what I believe anyway, James. You know, I think the only way to get anything back is to give back, but to give back right, you know. So then if I've been gifted with, I don't mean gifted like you like that, but with that awareness and understanding and knowing what the shadows is like, why not try pull some other people out of the shadows and say, you know what, there's a bit of light over it. What does the light look like? The light looks like hope. Yeah, so instead of that bag of doubt you got on your back, turn it into a bag of hope and belief. You know, don't doubt that you can change, because you fucking can, you know. Don't doubt it. People bring doubt to your table, go, yeah, that's what I wanted. Thanks for that doubt, because I know I'm going to turn it into belief. I know I'm going to turn it into faith. You know, I don't mean faith. Yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm not talking about faith with like that. I mean faith in yourself. Yeah. Don't let people beat you down. Don't let people say that you can't be this way, because you can, you know.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing when you're trying to make changes, when you're trying to make progress, and when you do it for a few weeks or a few months and you tell everybody I've changed this time, and then you slip back, that feeling of regret, the feeling of letting everyone down, the feeling of just feeling sick of being sick, and people just, when you say it again and you change, they just go, yeah, you just know they're saying, it's not even, yeah, do it, they just know you're full of shit until you eventually do it. When the wheels get in motion, it's such a good feeling when those dark clouds start disappearing and good things start happening in your life, and all you can do is just prove yourself that you can change. All you do is just prove yourself that there's hope there for a better life. And listen, some of the world's greatest teachers are the ones who come from dark places, the ones who then can speak to kids in prison, speak to kids in schools, and they just need that little light. Because people, when they make changes, people can talk shit online, but God forbid if your son or daughter ever goes down that dark route, sometimes these men or women are the ones who can save your son or daughter's life. So be careful who you're fucking throwing mud at. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's important for people to understand people's stories and understand what people can overcome. And that's the beautiful thing. Listen, you've came through darkness, you've came through pain, you've done a lot of bad things, but there's a time where you can't just keep fucking living there. Obviously we need to go through it because it's the first time your story's out there.
Yeah.
But this will open other doors. You just do the rounds and just keep promoting a good message, and good things will happen, and speaking in prisons and telling people, listen, you'll end up the way I was, fucking suicidal, full of scars and just full of rage and hate. And there's never any accountability either. When I was gambling, taking gear and all the other dark shit, everybody was to blame.
Yeah,
My exes, my friends, I need to stay back from them.
Yeah,
but they were all saying the same shit about me. I never done long stretches in the jail, and I'm glad. I love my freedom, I love my women, I love my fucking drugs. But
Amen.
it's, there's some people just adapt to prison so easy, where they accept it so easy. For me, I thought, nah, there's more to life, and thankfully I made the changes at 30, had a few wobbles, but I stayed consistent with something I've got. Like I say, the podcast has changed my life. The people who watch this, the people who listen, they changed my life, and hopefully we can just keep producing great stories like yourself to show others. Don't have to just accept that life. No matter how dark your past is, there's always light, but you need to find that light. You need to dig deep. You're already in pain. You're already in fucking pain. You're already in misery. The thing about change as well is, my life goes great, but I still battle.
Yeah,
I battle more now when I've got everything I've accomplished. Because it's not what I'm accomplishing, it's how I'm feeling and how I'm seeing the world, which is important, because everything, we've already got greatness, and no matter who's out there working, or as long as you're providing, as long as you're doing a good service, you're winning. No matter if it's stacking shelves, no matter if it's driving that taxi or the milkman. Don't look into everybody else's life and think, oh, my life is inadequate, or I'm feel like shit. No, you're out grafting, you're out providing, you're doing a service, good on you. Stick at it. You're no different from anybody else. I've interviewed the billionaires, and every one of them are miserable. None are happy. So it clearly shows that money's not everything. It's good to have nice things, of course. Set yourself little goals. Go after those nice things, but don't just make it complete. You know, don't make that materialism feel as if that's who you are as a person, because everything is within. And when you do good things does happen. Doesn't mean you're immune to bad stuff not happening. No. It fucking happens more when you're doing good, but these are tests from the devil. Whether you accept those tests or want to go down that route with them.
Felt that.
Yeah, you can decide what test you want to take, and people make good choices, people make bad, and I still make silly choices. I'm still going through shit, and I'm fucking 7-8 years on a good path, and I'm dealing with more shit now than I was when I was a fucking idiot. I would have accepted it 10 years ago, And I'm thinking, why am I getting tested again? Why is there coppers coming through the door? Why am I fucking getting in jail at the airport? Why am I going through family courts and criminal courts? What am I doing wrong? Is this another test? Because I lost myself there for 18 months and I thought about gambling and I thought, you know what? Fuck it, I'll stop doing podcasts. That's the way my mind was going, and I was in such a good place. My life is going good now. I've started getting my shit together. I've started back Muay Thai boxing, and I'm feeling a bit stronger, and I'm ready to fight it. But you're never immune to it, no matter how successful you become, and that's the mad thing about it. How long you been clean now?
Right, so I'm going to say I've been out 4. I just done, so I'm going to say about 8 years. But then the 8 years, but technically 4 because I've been outside for 4. So then that's 4 years in the system. So I got, when I was last away, it was when it was COVID. So within the first 6 months, I thought if I'm going to be behind my door and not letting me out my cell, literally just bringing food to your cell because it was lockdown in there. I thought I'm going to make sure I fucking come out the door a better person when they do eventually let us back out. And then that 6 months turned into 12 months. But then I done it within the first 6 months. See, that was the difference this time, James, you see. Like every other time I get clean or I try get, I don't know, you can blag medication and that whilst you're in jail, you go see the doctor. So you can pretty much stay high your whole sentence. So then you get out and you only be like 6 weeks clean. But then with my last sentence, because it wasn't a big one, but it's enough time for me to get clean properly. Got clean in the first 6 months. So then I had 2.5 years nearly then to have a game plan and 2.5 years of being clean. So when I got out of the jail, I wasn't freshly clean. I was clean, if that makes sense. So like too many people, like they get maintained on stuff when they're in there. So then when they get out, they're not clean. You know, you need to, and this is going to sound shit to anyone that is doing sentences or anything like that, but you just got to have long enough in there. And if you've got long enough in there, you've got to attack the problem straight from day dot. So you need to get clean as quick as possible to give yourself the best chance, because then your mind is thinking clean. You're having clean, you're still getting up to stuff because it's jail, obviously, but you're having clean thoughts. Your thought process is better, you know. So then when you actually do get released, you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to make a difference this time. Not just to my lives, but to the people around me. So yeah, it's been about 8 years and I'm thankful for it. There has been a few blips, but I'm not talking class A's. I'm talking, there's been a few ups and downs with prescription medication, to be quite honest. But that's been a couple of years now as well. I was a bit of a bugger for my anxiety meds at one stage because they put that fucking shitty force field around me, you know, where, oh, that doesn't bother me. Oh, it's a great day today and all that type of stuff. But it's all right having a great day for 4 or 5 days when you're taking them, but then you got the week of dealing with the shit that you did deal with. So then I made myself wise to that again. So I've had a few blips. One thing I do know is like, I might stumble, but I won't fall flat on my face no more because I've got a different environment. I've got different people around me. My thought process is completely different. My phone is now full of completely different phone numbers. So like, it's not phone numbers where I'm going to be getting up to madness or planning to do this or planning to take drugs or planning to do some money or something. It's all positive people, you know, people that when I am struggling, I can reach out to them, you know, and I've got the brotherhood as well, which is the breath of life. So I think it's going to be all right this time, you know, because yeah, it really is.
Good on you, bro. Why do you think we suffer so much? Like, I've interviewed so many people and the battles and gravitating towards drugs and like the gambling and why do you think we just gravitate? I've never smoked brown, I never tried crack, thankfully.
Thankfully.
On the sniff, many times the weed, the valleys, even sitting at parties, man, some of the troops used to end up fucking chasing the dragon, man, but you could see the destruction and they just used to fucking gouch out. We were all high and you're thinking, what you seen that? But they only started off with a bit of hash and a bit of weed and then it just got heavier and heavier and darker and darker. Like, I always say everything's vibration, everything's frequency.
Yeah.
And the more darkness you do, your frequency becomes down and the worse and stronger things become in your life to quit. Because if you're going on a marathon and running 26, 27 miles, it's just like a life of pain. If you're 10 years, 20 years of doing wrongdoing, it's going to take 10, 20 years to unfold and unravel
You
all
know
of
that,
So it's
James.
difficult.
You know.
Like, so if you're going through the pain and misery now, try and nip it in the arse now to better your life, to make positive changes. But why do you think as men, we suffer so much that the majority of men are suicidal? It's the biggest killer under 50, so we're really struggling.
I haven't got that answer, but I've got maybe
Your own answer?
my own answer. So what we do as men is, so you'll wake up in the morning, you'll come into work, you go do your podcast or you go to the gym or whatever, and people say to you, James, are you all right? You go, yeah, I'm all right. You'll go see your wife, your girlfriend, or the lady in your life at the time. She'll say to you, James, you all right? You go, yeah. But it's bullshit. You've got shit on your back. It's a rucksack full of bits and bobs, but we choose not to talk about it. Without sounding slightly sexist, women have had the spin on us for years, James, yeah? They were probably sending smoke signals back in the day to talk to each other. They talk at the school gates, they talk at the hairdressers, they talk when they're getting their nails done. Men don't talk. You know, we lock up our feelings. We revert back to our granddads. We think a cup of tea is going to help and the fresh air. Yeah, the cup of tea is going to help because there's 5 sugars in it and the fresh air is scientifically proven to help. But there's only one way to get rid of any darkness that we carry in our hearts and our minds. And it's the superpower of 2025, which is our fucking thoughts and feelings, brother. We have to talk about stuff. Because if we don't talk about stuff, like I said before about a merry heart being medicine for the soul with my mum and, you know, I made her a bit poorly and all that type of stuff. So if we don't talk about it, what's it doing to us? Yeah, it's affecting our mental health. I mean, we think it's not manly to be able to talk. We think it's not manly to say, you know what, bro, I'm fucking struggling, man. You know, in society today, it's like you can't hug another man. What, so if your brother's upset and whatever, you can't hug him. What, you can't shed a tear? You want to pass that down to your kids? It's not, and what, they've got to be strong in this? No, they're allowed to have thoughts and feelings. They're allowed to say I'm not okay, I'm struggling. Because we become the Neanderthal, we become that bloke, you know? But that's the bit that is unpeaceful to find peace. A lot of people and a lot of men, I believe, don't like to talk about their thoughts and feelings. You know, suicide, it's the biggest killer in men. We do a thing called Make a Difference, working alongside True North bikers, where we go out of all the boards and raise awareness. We call it proactive awareness. Got like snoods up and that. It looks a little bit thingy, but it works, you know. Got the boards, all the statistics on. Obviously, the construction environment and the trades, that's the biggest one. But then after that, it's the farmers. Like we went out with the boards not so long ago, and there's all sorts of people coming up, but the most powerful one is when a little old lady, she come up and she goes, all right, did you know that agriculture is the main killer, you know, suicides? I said, well, actually, I said, you're right. I said, but it's the second, the biggest one's the trade, you know, she's like, yeah, I have to go and check on my husband at least twice a week in the bottom of the barn just to make sure that he's still there, because he doesn't want to talk to his wife. You know, why would you not want to talk to someone if you think, you know, I'd rather sit down and talk to my brother than carrying him on my shoulder. Yeah. I wish my brother would have come and spoke to me, or I wasn't the closest brother he had. He had some really close friends, but he was still my brother. You know, I wish he would have come and spoke instead of like, you know, because instead of having to carry him on our shoulders. You know, you either talk about it or you carry it in your hearts, and you end up carrying it on your shoulder. That's how it is. You gotta talk about stuff, bro.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing, suicide. I work with Chrissy's House, which is a 24-hour service in Scotland. Amazing people who do amazing work, but we used to speak to people who came in and had burn marks around their neck, who tried to take their own lives, and that's what they were saying. Like, I was feeling good that day of the escape, but as soon as they tried to do it, the boys, I'll not mention them, but the rope snapped, and as soon as he'd done it, he realised he'd made a mistake. He fucking realised he didn't want to do it, and that's a sad thing. That's a heartbreaking thing. Taking your own life is probably the bravest thing you can actually do on this planet. Yes, it passes the pain on to others, but we're not in other people's mind to really judge what they feel and what they say and the decisions that they make. You know, everybody's on their own path, and sometimes you want to switch the lights off then so be it, because you don't know what pain they're dealing with. But it's fucking unbelievable brave, and the more you understand it, the more people battle, like, they must be going through some shit to not want to be here, and that's the sad thing, because what they've done is brave. But yet, just even anybody that's struggling now, just push through that fight,
Yes.
just ask out, just ask for forgiveness, ask for help, and don't worry about what you've done in the past. Like, things can change, things can resolve, and I've spoke to murderers, I've spoke to bank robbers, I've spoke to drug lords, and they've changed their life, and they're speaking in prisons, and they're trying to help the youth. And it's a beautiful thing to say. Yes, some of them slip back, but we're human. We fuck up, we make mistakes.
Yeah,
Nobody's
don't be
perfect. But it's to own your own shit. Stop pointing fingers, because as soon as you point one finger, there's always 4 pointing back. So just understand that everything can dig deep to be better, to make better changes, and don't worry about what you see online. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're out there working, or maybe you're stuck in the house and smoking weed, or you can't figure it out, just seek out help, seek people who has changed, the changes that you want to make. Look up who's made those changes as well, because there is inspiration, and you understand you're not alone. Some people are scared to go to meetings. I remember going to a GA meeting for the first time. I was only a young kid, 18, 19. I tried to join the Marines. I tried to get away. And I remember going in, and I was fucking terrified. It was all older men in their 40s, and they just seemed all wise. And I thought, nah, this is not for me, fuck them. And I ended up getting back like 10 years later, and I was in and out again. And it's just amazing when you show that you're not alone. It gives you strength, because when you learn that you're not the only fuck up on the planet, and people can actually better their life and become successful, it makes you feel, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. Because we've all got that inner strength. It's just trying to tap into it to realise, okay, I'm going to make changes. But we're so lost as a society. We're so vulnerable. We're so weak. Men have, and I don't want to say becoming weak is a horrible word, but we are becoming very fragile as a nation, as a country, as a world. Men are really struggling the most. And I think with talking, but we talk about it more than ever though. Do you know what I'm saying? But yet suicide's at the highest numbers ever. So
and
it's scary, like how men are suffer.
Men younger than us and our type of age.
Yeah.
They just drop it. People are just dropping. You know, it's not a good situation.
Social media plays a massive part. Listen, relationships, women play a massive part as well. Fuck me, man. I didn't
money
really.
relationships.
I'm going through the family courts, and the amount of men, I put a post out, thousands of messages, brother, thousands of men suffering, want to be suicidal, they're not seeing their kids. And listen, the majority of men are bastards. Like, we've said shit, we've done bad shit, we get it.
We have to own it, man.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to affect our kids. It doesn't have to affect being a father, because kids need their father. And when men are suffering, and good dads, there's a lot of bad dads who don't want to see their kids, but for the good dads who do, it's them who are suffering, the money, the family courts, the lies. And you're thinking, wow, I never tasted it firsthand, but obviously these are the cards I'm dealt, and these are the cards I will fucking play. I won't back down, and I'll start a campaign for men to be strong and
go for it,
because the family courts ain't fair for men. They fucking rip men apart. And not all men are good, we get it, but not all women are good either, so it's a fair game. So I just need more protection for men, more understanding that this ain't fucking right. You can't be belittling men and trying to discredit men all the fucking time. Do you know what I'm saying? Men are good people as well.
The same passion that I just heard in your voice and seen in your eyes then when you said, I will start a campaign, because you firsthand know what that's like.
Yeah.
That is what I'm very similar with, trying to break the chains for the people in the system. The same sort of passion, and that's where I feel that's where the magic happens. That's where change happens, when that passion mixed with a bit of action and direction. And I felt that then, James.
Yeah.
I felt that.
I think you've got to experience it firsthand though, because people used to message me, they were going through family courts, and you're not seeing your kids, and I think, well, what have you done? My first reaction, it's wrong. Now I'm on the same page. People be thinking that, and I'm thinking, but done what the fucker's saying. Like, all right, I'm not. I'm saying I've never claimed to be. But now I know how the system operates. The family courts want you to throw mud. I was $4,000 a day through barrister fees, lawyers fees, travel, and then I'm thinking, that could be going to my son. Everything I do is for family. For me, I've chased everything else. I've experienced everything else, but for me, family's everything. Being a good dad, being a better person, and showing them not to make the same mistakes I done, because they need their dad, you know. As a father yourself who's done a lot of bad, and just trying to do the right and trying to get them to tap into it young, where they're not in their late 30s and 40s when the mind goes, break those chains. How are you feeling now? How are the battles now, 7 years, 8 years later, 4 years later?
Battles in what sense? You mean like
Just
the battle?
life, yeah.
So like I get battles, you know, on a daily basis. So like lived experience is a big buzzword, ain't it? You know, oh, he's lived experience, he lived experience, but I like to think there's one better than that, James. It's called living experience. So lived experience is like you've got over it, you know, like you had mental health and you've got over it. I'm lived experience mental health worker, but that's bullshit. You know, you never get through it. You just learn how to cope with it in a different way. So then I like to say we're living experience because we're going through it and we're still trying to give back and all the rest of it. I struggle on a weekly basis. I still now, so my institutionalised isn't where I can't cope on the outside. My institutionalised is where jail was my safe place. It was my safe space, you know. So some days when I'm struggling, like I'll put my blinds down, I'll make sure the dog's on the long lead and the front door, and I will turn my flat into a jail cell. So I struggle like that. Sometimes I struggle, even though we create safe spaces for men and we say it's good to talk and all the rest of it. I struggle with talking sometimes. I struggle with sharing what's going on in my head. I'd go into my own head by myself a lot when that's just a total red flag for me. I need someone to go in there with me. Otherwise, it's a dangerous place, you know. So I do struggle, but I have more good days than I do bad. So it's progress. It's not about perfection, is it? It's about progress, you know. It's not about being perfect. I've got to be comfortable with the fact that that's just how it is for me, you know. But it's a lot better than it used to be. Thanks for asking, pal. That's a great question.
Yeah, but that's all you want.
Yeah.
And not every day is the same. We don't know. We could have a great day. We've done a great podcast. We've had a good conversation. 5 minutes later, something fucking shit can happen. I always talk about this. My life goes great, but I can walk. I've got 2 Rottweilers I love to bits. That's my safe place. That's my happiness. But when I'm going through the park, I think, man, my life's good. Something negative will kick in.
Yeah.
And you know what ruins my fucking day?
Quite.
It doesn't ruin 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It ruins my day. I'll sit in the car, fest on what I've just remembered, or when I go home, it'll be the same, and I think, fucking hell, and something internal, like chemicals or cortisol, whatever it is, it just, because the brain is so powerful. When you think about trauma from 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, if you think of that experience, you're actually there, and the brain releases the chemicals to what you thought at that time. And I think, fucker, because we've never had that great experience. We've never had that circle of love from a young kid. My life was chaos in Glasgow. It was all
I can imagine. I've got some Glaswegian brothers, man.
and that was normal. People
Yeah,
yeah,
I know it
like
is, yeah.
shandies at 5 years old, and like family uncles.
All my
Spec
mates in Glasgow are
shandies.
blending a bit more than bloody London's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Blending a bit better.
But this is just the chapters that we've got in our story, you know? How many scars have you actually got?
I've probably got one on every part of my body, but it's not the scars you can see, it's the scars you can't see. Them are the bad ones, you know, but they're healed or healing. It's not the ones you can see. Like the one on this on my face, don't get me wrong, at first it bothered me because they're like walking out my face and all the rest of it. But the way I look at it, who else gets to wake up in the morning and they're smiling on the left side every single morning? When I was in a dark place at one time, I told my people, it says, if you bury me, I says, make sure you bury me that way down. I said, fucking why is that, baby? I says, because then you can all come up to the coffin and say, all the chaos and carnage he caused, and he's still smiling. So I do see the funny side of it. At the time, there wasn't a funny side to it. There was fucking all sorts going on because of what happened, you know. But yeah, really every part of my body, I think.
Have you ever healed from people you had grievances with or enemies? Because when you're going through change, you kind of want to apologise to everyone you've done wrong. I think you touched on that. Have you ever came across anybody you've harmed or hurt and they've forgiven you?
No, but I've been on the other side of the spectrum. I've seen people that have done bad stuff to me and I've told them that I forgive them, so that's just as good. You know, like for instance, the cupboard scenario. The one lad's not living a very good life at the moment. He's still involved with whatever, and he's a bit worse for wear. He knew when I put my hand on his shoulder and I was behind him, he knew it was me. And he knew that I was in a good place. So I could probably make some real bad decisions about what happened. And I said, I forgive you, bro, man. I says, we was both living that life. Because like I just said earlier on, two things that set you free, truth and forgiveness. So to forgive someone doesn't mean I'm going to sit down and have a fucking cup of tea and a Sunday dinner with you. Just means I don't want you to have the power in my head. I don't want you to live rent-free in my head. So I'm going to forgive you. It doesn't mean some people, like, they've had real bad stuff go on in their lives. You think, I can't forgive them, but they're in your head. So just say, look, I just forgive you for what's gone on, you know. So haven't really. There's an understanding with the lads that done my face, you know. There was no. I was in and out the bloody police. I was in and out the hospital within 6 hours. These were the same. And then there was an understanding at one stage where I said, listen, there was no charges, so if I come for you, I just want the same treatment. But then there's been another understanding since that now, where it's like, it is what it is, you know? I was rolling around doing what I was doing. I took some fucking money that I shouldn't have took, a large amount of cash. If I was in their position, I probably would have done the same thing. Someone rocked up and took our money that we earned all week, you know? So there's the understanding. So just gotta, like, you live by the sword, you die by it. So can I just quote a little tiny bit of scripture, James?
Of course you can.
Right, so there's my favourite book is actually James in the Bible, yeah? And there's some scripture in there, and it says, sin starts off as a thought. When that thought is conceived, it gives birth to destruction. Eventually, that destruction will be the death of man. And that's the bit that got me back into my Bible. Your sin starts off as a thought in your head. When you give that sin some more brain, it's conceived. What does that give birth to? Destruction. But that runs in line with, you live by the sword, you die by it. Everyone thinks, oh, I'm not mooching around with a sword. No, everyone's sword's different. So they said your sword was gambling. Yeah, my sword was drugs. Someone else's sword might be this. But if you don't get a hold of it, that's what happens, James. The sin starts off as a thought. That thought gets conceived, and eventually it leads to the destruction, it leads to death. That's what happens. So, yeah.
Everything you've went through, losing family members to suicide, overdose, in prison, outside of prison, you've nearly took your own life on multiple occasions, probably nearly OD'd on multiple occasions.
There has been a handful, yeah, to be honest. There has, yeah. Cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, both drug overdoses, you know.
Why do you think you're still here?
You want my honest opinion?
Hmm?
Because I believe he's got a plan for me. And I don't feel it. James, like I said, I'm not the person that's going to put a Bible in your back pocket, but I stand firm to scripture these days. And he's got a plan for me to prosper and a plan for the future. And it's not for a plan for me to prosper in cash. And it's not for a plan for me to have a future fucking living somewhere down here in London in £1 million property. He wants me to prosper in his gifts, hope, faith and love. He wants me to pass it on. That's why he's lowered down his rope on umpteen occasions, yeah? So, for instance, when I had my cardiac arrest, yeah? Where I had it was in a doctor's. I went to the doctor's to pick up some medication, went into the toilets. I had still had some bits and bobs in my pocket. Smoked the bits and bobs. Next thing, pins and needles up to here. And next thing I was in, like, where the doctor's was, it was like an old people's like complex. So there's always ambulances there. The nurse, the receptionist has heard the door go bump, slam, come to the door. I'm on the floor, looked out to, go outside. There's an ambulance there going to one of the old people. That is not a coincidence. 2% of people survive cardiac arrest outside a hospital. I was at 2%. When I had my respiratory failure, yeah, so like I took too many diazepam, too many Valiums, yeah, off the internet, fucking bumping into everything. Decides to go asleep in the road this way, yeah. So a car's gone past, nearly run over my legs. Getting on the phone to the services to say, oh, there's a gentleman in the road. A car then's come the other way, nearly ran over my head. Yeah, gets on the phone to think, what do you think the third vehicle was? The fucking ambulance, bro. Yeah, it's not a coincidence. When this happened to my face, they were told to cut my throat and chuck some drugs down, drug-related death. Yeah, the two people over here that come down to ambush me, they're looking at me, James, but they're like this. They're looking behind me. It's telling me there's somebody behind me. Yeah, so if the Lord is of joy and hope and all the rest of it, he's like, wow, I'm going to give you another little warning, but I'm going to give you a smile on your face at the same time. So it's just it's not a coincidence. Yeah, he's lowered down his rope. I've got, there's loads of stories, yeah, without me, like, you know, the whole Bible thing, because I don't want to, but I have to give all glory to him. I know he's got a plan for me, you know. I know he's got a plan for me, and I know he's got a plan for the people around me, you know. I'm not proud to be a Christian. I'm thankful to be a Christian, because like he's shone a light on my life. But you get two type of godly men. You get the godly men that are proper godly men, you know, and they're like, they go to work, they do all that type of stuff, and they're keeping them godly people in that godly way. But then you get the godly warriors, the warriors of God. These are the people that have been in the trenches and been down there, and they've come through it, and now they want to shine a light and bring other people through it. Too many people get to the top of a mountain and go, fuck everybody else. What's wrong with saying, this is the route I took? Let's get to the top of the mountain because we've got another 10 in front of us. And that's what I believe he wants me to do. I believe that's why I'm here, you know? That's why I've gone through the chaos. That's why I've got the carnage. I've got it tattooed all over me. God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, you know? That's why my shit's come to my door. Because if he numbered every single hair on my head when I was in my mum's womb, he knew what was in store for me. So he's like, I'll chuck you a bit of that. You can gain some more awareness from that. There's a bit more of that. You can have some more awareness. I was Satan's puppet for years. Literally years. What did it lead to? Suicide, drugs, addiction, heartache, chaos and carnage. Yeah? So that was the one side of it. It doesn't have to even be the devil and the Lord. It's just associated with darkness and light. So when I was living my dark life, all that shit was happening. When I decided to make a change and switch everything up around me and proper evaluate what was going on, but obviously I put it up there and say, he's helped me out, then the light come into the situation. It's like, I just know, you know? I just know that there's something else there, you know?
Do you think religion saved your life?
I don't think religion saved my life. I know it did. 100%. 100%.
That the first time you've kind of not felt lonely, or felt as if you've got, I believe in a higher power, I believe in something out there. I don't know what it is, I've never
That's good to hear.
Yeah. They say I had a spiritual awakening at 30. I genuinely don't know, but something did happen. But and they said it's, listen, some of the biggest, do you know, some of the biggest sports stars on the planet follow religion. They've got a belief or a higher power to it. Everybody prays in their own way, whether that's affirmations, whether it's law of attraction, the secret, or what it is, or if you're praying to something, a higher being. There's so many gods and so many religions.
12 steps is run on it.
Yeah, so I just feel it is important to have that inner belief on something. Is this the first time you've never felt alone, that you've got someone always there by your side?
Do you know what, James? You know, when I woke up this morning and it was coming there, so I've done a few crazy things and all the rest of it. I felt a little, I'll be honest with you, yeah? I felt a little bit intimidated because you've interviewed some people, man, and I'm thinking, little old me off a council estate, whatever stories and all the rest of it, and some of the stories that you own them, but they are shit to own, you know? But then, when I sat down, I said my morning prayer like I did it every morning. I know he left that door before I left there. So he told me to be bold. He told me to be courageous. He told me to be truthful. And that's what I tried to bring to the table with you today. You know, I just know he leaves the door before I do. And the joy of it is like, if he created me in his image and I'm his child and he loves me and all that type of stuff. Some people can't understand it, can't comprehend it, and they say, why didn't this happen? Why is all the bad stuff happening in the world? All right then, so what do you think caused all the bad stuff in the world? It was the sin that caused the stuff, you know? You know, it's not, you won't get, well, we won't go there, it's a big subject, ain't it? But you know what I mean? I just believe that he leaves the door before I do. I believe that if you haven't got nobody else to talk to, then like we were saying before about men not being able to talk, if you haven't got an earthly mother, if you haven't got an earthly father, and you can be able to just talk to that one person, and that one person is there, that is still helping you, you know? So, yeah, I believe he leaves the door before I do every single morning. I believe He knows what I'm going through. He knows what's in my heart. It says in scripture, I trust you with the little things and then I trust you with a little bit more. So when I was in the prison cell and I said, I prayed about awareness, he gave me the awareness and then he trusted me to be able to hold that. Why did he trust me to be able to hold that? Because it says that on my arm, James. God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. He knew that I was going to go down that rabbit hole and try do whatever, but he knew that wouldn't happen. He knew that had to happen because, like, sometimes you have to die a few times to actually live. So you have to get rid of a few things to be able to live. And he knew that, you know. So, yeah, man, he did save my life. I'm going to give straight back all glory to God. If this is a share, and which has been a really comfortable share, so thank you, because you have put me majorly at ease, yeah? It's about shadows, and it's about darkness. It's about doubt and chaos and carnage. But then at the end, the doubt turns into faith and belief, and there is something there. It's not my work. So by myself, I'll be honest with you, if I was left up to my own will, I'm dirt on my shoe and I'm dirt on my forehead. Yeah. But the good thing about dirt is when the big man gets involved, he starts planting and he starts planting seeds. And what does dirt do? It helps things to grow. And that's what he's done with me. So that's why I've been in the dirt. That's why I've done those things, because it helped me to grow. And then by helping me to grow, it's now helping the people around me to be able to grow as well. Why? Because I don't know exactly what you've been through, you know, the lads that we sit down with, you know, with the Breath of Life and all that. I don't know exactly what you've been through, but I got an understanding about it, bro. I've done something similar. If a lad comes to me and they're sat at the table and we're sharing, because we've got the talk circle, they come and they share, and they've had an issue with powder, cocaine, and they're feeling bad about that. I've got another 50 stories I can bring about crack cocaine, brother, where I've done stuff 10 times worse. You can get through this. It's a bit of sniff. We can sort this out, you know. But I'm not just, I've actually been there, but in a worse situation. I'm not saying that about everything, but what I'm saying is the stuff that I have got awareness about. Too many people get awareness and understanding, stick it on the shelf and say, fuck everyone else. Yeah, bring it down, open the box. Open the box and say, this is how I've done it. What good's the box going to be up there on the shelf? No fucker can reach it. No fucker's going to get see what's going on. Bring the box down and open it up. Say, this is how I've done it. It might work for you. And that might sometimes wins a fight, bro.
But you've done amazing. Like I say, great interview today. The way you speak, the way you present yourself, you've lived the life, you own it, which is very important.
It's hard.
Yeah, but obviously when the podcast comes out, a lot of people want you on their podcast and the clips, and plus your social media will start popping. So just stay aware of it though, because sometimes it can go to people's heads. Sometimes you can get all this attention, you think, yeah, I've completed it, and some people can really lose themselves as well. So just be careful for what's to come, because there's a lot of good happening, but the devil will come with that as well, you know, and that's a bastard. And I only became more aware of this when people have come on this platform, and a lot of people have then went on to write books and be on TV and speak in schools and speak in prisons, but sometimes it become too much, because then there becomes a lot of attention. Do you know what I'm saying? And sometimes that, because that's what we want, to help people and get the platform and whatever.
Platform,
sometimes it damages as well, because I've seen people slip back. So just stay grounded, stay on the path and keep doing what you're doing, brother. Most importantly though, for anybody watching that's in a life of struggle, that's battling, whether they're in prison, whether they've got that drug addiction, whether they just hate their life and feel as if they can't carry on, what advice would you have for them?
It boils down to a couple of things, I think. It boils down to one thought, one action, and one direction. You can either have a bad thought that's going to create a bad action that's then going to lead to the bad direction, or you can switch it up. Don't let your thoughts become your prison cell. Don't let every bad thought that you have, you know, is another bar in your mind. Try, you know, speak to people, you know, have faith in yourself and faith in the people around you. And the last thing that I must say, if it don't produce fruit, chop it off and chuck it in the fire. If you've got dickheads around you, chop them off and chuck them in the fire, because they're bringing no fruit to your tree. That's what I'd say, bro.
Good on you, brother. How important, just before we finish up, because it is a lonely journey, change, and you have to eliminate a lot of people, and a lot of sacrifice comes in, especially with the troops you're with maybe 10, 20, 30 years who've been loyal, but they don't want to change. Sometimes you stay in that circle because you don't want to come away from all you've known. But when you really want to change, you have to really do it. Like, how important is it to really figure it out yourself without any other influence to be on a journey? Because change is lonely, but once you kind of get over it, then you can start putting and planting those seeds to try and help other people make those changes. But did you see it as being a lonely journey when you started really changing?
Well, I shared that there was suicide attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lonely journey, but that's where the unpeaceful part then becomes peace.
Yeah. Is it breath to, what is this breath to,
Right, so it's called the Men of the Breath of Life.
breath
So,
of life? Let's touch on this.
Go
What
on.
is this before we finish up? Let's promote them.
all right, then. So, well, that's quite easy for me to do because that's just pure light, you know. So, what we do is we create safe spaces for men. Yeah, so we've got something called Unload and Uplift. It's a talking circle. So we get men down there. There's a few rules at Talking Circle, James. You should maybe, I don't know, you're more than welcome to pop down. Do you know what I mean? Right. So one of the rules is what goes on at Talking Circle stays at Talking Circle. What does that bring to the table? Trust. Yeah, when you know that you can, this is safe spaces for men. But so that's the Talk Circle, Unload and Uplift. Then we've got another one called Release and Reset. So one of the facilitators, don't use the word directors because it's a bit whatever. It's just facilitators. There's like 6 and then there's a group of lads. Is called Release and Reset. That's a circuit environment. So that's like basically get sweaty and all that type of stuff. We've got another one called Forest and Fellowship. So what we try to do is build relationships on all different levels. We're not about dictatorships. There's no leaders. It's team. We move forward as one body. So if you're struggling, we're struggling. If you're shining, we want to shine with you. Yeah, we're trying to create that brotherhood. Then we've got another one where it's basically an allotment space called Plant and Prosper. So we want you to come down, bring your families and all that type of stuff, do some bits and bobs down in the allotment. In the summertime, we have some barbecues and that down there. We've got one of the lads that set something up called Trek and Tranquility. So it sounds a bit hippie-like and all the rest of it, but what we try to do, we've got spaces where the man can become a better person. So you go, oh, it's men's mental health and all that type of stuff. But if you're helping the man be a better person and he's walking through the door a better person, we try to have these spaces at different times, at different days. So, for instance, Forest and Fellowship, first thing on a Saturday morning, nice and early on a Saturday morning, 7 o'clock. So before anyone else really gets out of bed. By the time it's done, 9:30, you go down, a cup of coffee, bacon sandwiches. It's a bit different to Talking Circle because what we do there is we can have a bit of a laugh and a banter about how we used to be. But where the Talking Circle, you either have a positive share, a negative share, or you don't have to share. But what we want to do is just let men know that it's all right not to be okay. Yeah, if you've got something on your mind, then bring it to the table and talk about it. And the joy of it is every single person around that table has got a different story. So it's a living, breathing database of awareness and understanding. And it's a CIC company, so whatever comes in, we put straight back into the community. You know, everybody's a volunteer there. There's no wages that get paid. You know, the bacon on a Saturday is bought out of our pockets at the moment because there's no funding. You know, any of the spaces where we've got a space, like to say for the Talking Circle, is given to us for free because the community can see the impact it's having. It's just basically creating safe spaces for men. It's called the Breath of Life because the big thing that we say is, let the words that leave your mouth give life and not death. So if you're going to put a bad word out there, don't be fucking pissed off when a bad word comes to your door. Yeah, so basically let your words give life or death. But what creates them words? It's the breath that creates them words. So that's where the name comes from, the Breath of Life.
And for anybody watching it's want to maybe get involved, I don't know if you're looking, but want to give you opportunities, maybe speak in schools or prisons, how can I get in contact with you?
Well, they'd have to on my Insta page, No Judgment 81, rather than put my phone number out here and get trolled to death. You know what I mean? Like, ping, ping, ping. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, No Judgment 81. We all know what a troll's like.
How are you feeling today, brother?
I feel amazing now. I actually feel lighter coming and sharing with you. I just hope that, you know, it gets through to some people and they just know that, you know, if someone's got someone in their life that's struggling with addiction and you're thinking that, oh, they're never going to change, it's never going to change, I want to be that little bit of hope that says that it can happen. You know, we've all know somebody or got somebody or know somebody that knows somebody that used to be a good lad, that could have done this, could have done that, you know, oh, he should have done this, he should have done that. But now when you see him, you probably go on the other side of the road. I'm here to say it's not always the case. you know, people can change with the right thoughts, the right actions, and the right direction.
Yeah. You've done amazing, man. You should be proud of yourself. I'm rooting
Thank
for
you.
you. Anything I can help with, you've got my number.
Nice one,
Hand on my
James.
heart, whatever I can do, it will get done.
Nice one, brother.
Would you like to finish up on anything else?
I was just going to say thanks for having me on here, and yeah, thanks for a bit of counsel rocking up at the table. Really appreciate it. All right, brother.
Good one.
Right,
Bro.
God bless,
Listen,
man. You're
everybody
diamonds.
everybody deserves a good crack at it, and you've learnt the lessons, and I think big things are going to happen for you. And like I say, I'm rooting for you. You've got a good energy. You've made your mistakes. Now it's game time. New chapters coming, and big things will happen, brother.
Nice one, James.
God
Really
bless you.
appreciate it. God bless you.